Hello dear students, welcome back to our English session. We have grammar, present tenses, and this is part 2. This is to the Max Students book, page 24 and 25. Before we start anything, I want you to study the following situations. The first situation is, we have this picture. What can you see in this picture? Yes. A broken leg? Yes, maybe, yes. Okay. Is the action finished? Yes, the action has finished. Very good. Do you know exactly when? Do you know exactly when the action finished? No. So, what do we say? We say someone has broken his leg. Okay. Now study the following situation as well. What do we have here? What can you see in this picture? A book, a cover of a book, yes. Finished, okay. Is the action finished? Like, have you finished reading the book? Yes. Do you know exactly when you finished the book? You finished reading the book? No. So we say someone has read a book. Okay. Now moving to another situation. What can you see in this picture? A girl still reading a book, yes. Is the action finished? No, the action is unfinished because she is still reading a book. So what are we going to say? We are going to say the girl has been reading a book because she is still reading a book. Now moving to another situation. What can you see in this picture? Raining, it's raining, yes, okay. Is the action finished? No, it's unfinished because as you see, it is still raining. So what do we say? We say it has been raining for a while. Yes, very good. So, today's lesson is about the present perfect versus the present perfect continuous. How do we form both tenses, the present perfect and the present perfect continuous? To start with, we have the present perfect form. How do we form the present perfect? The affirmative form of the present perfect is has plus the PP plus the third form of the verb. And we use has plus the PP with he, she, or it. Or we use have plus the PP with I, we, you, and they. This is the affirmative form of the present perfect. Now moving to the negative form of the present perfect. How do we form a negative sentence using the present perfect? As we said before, we use has plus the PP with he, she, or it, or any singular pronoun. Here we use hasn't plus the PP form of the verb with he, she, or it. And we use haven't plus the PP form of the verb with I, we, you, and they. Now moving to the form of the present perfect continuous. The affirmative form of the present perfect continuous is has been plus verb ing with he, she, or it, or have been plus verb ing with I, we, you, or they. The negative form is simply done by adding not. As we see here, we have hasn't been plus verb ing with he, she, or it, haven't been plus verb ing with I, we, you, or they. Now I want you to read the following letter and underline the present perfect and the present perfect continuous sentences and try to guess why each verb is used in either tense. So you are going to read a text here, it's a letter, and I want you to underline both tenses, the present perfect and the present perfect continuous, and try to guess why each verb is used in either tense. Dear Mom and Dad, I've been having great time here at university. California is so beautiful. I have already started classes, and the one I like the most is film class. For the past 2 weeks, we have been studying the history of film. I have been learning about Charlie Chaplin. I have already watched several of his films. I hope you have been enjoying the California films I sent you. I almost forgot. I have seen Mom's cousin Alice several times since I got here, and she sends her love. Take care, Adam. So here is Adam's letter to his mom and dad. Now your task is to guess why each verb is used in either tense, and another task is to underline both the present perfect and the present perfect continuous sentences. Now let's see together. As we see here, first of all we have I have been having great time here at university. So here we have I have been having. Which tense is this? This is the present perfect continuous. Very good. Have been having. Very good. Now moving to sentence number 2. I have already started classes. We have already started. So which tense is this? This is the present perfect. Very good. So we have started. Okay, moving to the next sentence. We have been studying the history of film. So we have been studying. Which tense is this? This is the present perfect continuous. Very good. Have been studying. Have been plus verb ing. Very good. Moving to the next one. I have been learning about Charlie Chaplin. So we have been learning. Again, this is a present perfect continuous form. Very good. Next we have I have already watched several of his films. We have already watched. Which tense is this? This is the present perfect. Have watched. Very good. I hope you have been enjoying the California films I sent you. So here we have been enjoying. This is the present perfect continuous. Have been enjoying. Very good. Another sentence and the last one. I have seen Mom's cousin Alice several times since whatever. Okay, so we have seen, and which tense is this? This is the present perfect. Very good. Have seen. Have plus the PP form of the verb, the third form of the verb. Very good. So the question is, when do we use the present perfect and the present perfect continuous? Let's start with the present perfect uses. Number 1, we use the present perfect to express an action that started in the past and is still going on or stopped recently, but it has an influence in the present time. So the action started already in the past, but it has an influence in the present time. Number 2, it puts emphasis on the result. So what is important here? The important thing here is the result itself, the influence in the present time. For example, John has studied Turkish. So he started in the past, but we don't know exactly when. And what is very important here is that he has studied Turkish, so he already knows Turkish. The children have just eaten lunch, so they started eating in the past, but this has an influence in the present time, so they are not hungry anymore. So this is the result we are talking about. Again, we use the present perfect to say that something is accomplished in the past as an experience but has a result in the present time. For example, she has picked a lot of apples. This means the apples are in the basket now. Again, we care for the result in the present time and we don't care for the time itself. Number 4. For an action that happened several times or repeatedly in the past. For example, you have asked me that question several times already. So you already asked me so many times before, but I do not actually remember when, but I remember that you asked me so many times. So we say, you've asked me that question several times already. Number 5. We use the present perfect to talk about an experience in the past, and the exact time is not important, as we mentioned before in number 3, so it's the same. For example, have you ever tried Chinese food? I'm asking here if you have ever tried Chinese food, like an experience in the past. Number 6. For an action that started in the past and continues up to the present. Often we use this with for and since. For example, I have been a teacher since 2002. And again, we use the present perfect with superlatives and some expressions like the first, the second, and so on. For example, this is the first time I have ever tried Chinese food. So with the expression the first time or second time or some superlatives, we use the present perfect. The present perfect is used with some time expressions or some keywords or some words like already, just, yet, ever, never, since, for, lately, recently, so far. Now, moving to the present perfect continuous uses. We use the present perfect continuous to put emphasis on the duration or on the course of an action, not on the result. So this is not like the present perfect. As we know, the present perfect focuses on the result. But here we focus on the duration, not the result. For example, she has been writing novels for the last 5 years. Here we have a long duration for the last 5 years. So here is the duration. So we use the present perfect continuous form. So we say has been writing. Number 2. We use the present perfect continuous to talk about how long something has been happening. How long? For example, we have been shopping all day. All day, this is again gives a sense of duration. This shows how long the action was happening. Number 3. To show annoyance or anger resulting from a recent action. For example, who has been wearing my jacket? So this shows that you are angry with someone because he did something that you don't want, and this anger is resulting from a recent action. Number 4. We use the present perfect continuous to answer the question how long. For example, how long have you been teaching? The answer is I have been teaching for more than 15 years. So use the present perfect continuous, have been teaching. Number 5. To express that a completed action had an unwanted side effect. For example, I have been washing the car, and this gives a feeling of an unwanted side effect. Maybe you got wet, maybe you got bored or tired. So we say I have been washing the car. Number 6. The present perfect continuous is used with some time expressions, some words, some keywords like for, since, till now, up till now, all day, all week, all night, and so on. Now I want you to see these two sentences or these two questions. I want you to tell me the difference in meaning between both of them. Number 1, what have you studied this year? Number 2, what have you been studying this year? Now, we know it's very noticeable here that there is a difference in form. The first question uses the present perfect, and the second question uses the present perfect continuous. So what is the difference in meaning between these two questions? What have you studied this year means what have you finished studying this year? What have you finished studying this year? Number 2, what have you been studying this year means what subjects are you still studying? Now, I want you to notice these two sentences. Number 1, recently I have been feeling really tired. Number 2, she has been watching too much television lately. The question is, can we use the present perfect continuous tense with the words recently and lately? The answer is yes, sometimes. We can use the present perfect continuous without using a duration such as for 2 weeks or all day or for a long time, and this gives a more general meaning of lately. So without using the duration, with the present perfect continuous, we give a more general meaning of lately. We often use the words lately and recently or recently to emphasize this meaning. This meaning of means here the general meaning of lately. Now let's move to practice time. I'll give you a text and I want you to find the mistakes and then correct them. Let's read the text together. Nancy lives in Florida in the United States. Her grandchildren live in London, England. They lived in London for quite a long time. Nancy has not seen her grandchildren in over a year. She has been talked to them over the phone and through emails many times. She also seen pictures of them. They grown so much since the last time they visited her. Lately, Nancy feeling very lonely. She knits scarves and blankets to send to her grandchildren in London. So far, she knitted 2 large blankets for her granddaughters. She also knitting a scarf for her grandchildren, for her grandchild. Now let's see the mistakes together. In the first part, we have Nancy lives in Florida in the United States. Her grandchildren live in London, England. They lived in London for quite a long time, so this is lived is a mistake. Nancy has not seen her grandchildren in over a year, so we have has not see is a mistake as well. She has been talked to them over the phone and through emails many times, so we have talked is a mistake. She also seen pictures of them, also seen is a mistake. They grown so much since the last time they visited her, again we have they grown is a mistake here. Lately, Nancy feeling very lonely, feeling is a mistake. Blah blah blah. So far she knitted 2 large blankets for her blah blah blah. We have knitted here is a mistake. The form of the verb, definitely it's a mistake. And she also knitting a scarf. Knitting here is a mistake. The form of the verb is incorrect. Now let's correct the mistakes together. Mistakes in the text. Number 1, lived. Instead we should say have lived. Number 2, has not seen. Instead we should say has not seen. Number 3, has been talked. We should say has been talking. Also seen is a mistake. We should say has also seen. Grown is a mistake. Instead, we should say have grown. Feeling is a mistake. Instead, we should say has been feeling. Knitted is definitely a mistake. We should say has knitted. Also knitting is a mistake. We should say has been knitting. Now for more practice, go to your To The Max Students book and answer exercise B and C on page 25. And for your homework, go to your A-level booklet, page 32 and 33, and answer exercise A and B. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed your lesson today.